Hello everyone, and welcome to another broader VGC analysis, draft analysis through the context of VBLS Season 9. Today, I and my incredible co-host BOhm, say hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Are asking the question that every person on the internet was asking back in 2015. Are traps good in VGC draft? And I think the two of us are going to put a compelling proposition as to why they are. Also, the reason there's this cropped out Iono Magnemite on the screen is because I used Iono on the cover of another one of the videos before I made the cover for this one. And I couldn't find like a cropped out one of just it, so it's got a white background.
Alright.
I put the trading card game picture on the thing. I like it when I can do that because it's funny. But yes, you went in for a round 1 Gothitelle, which suggests that you do believe the traps are good.
I believe it's unique more than good. I wanted to try something a little different, but
you hadn't watched my how not to draft league video where I said that Gothitelle was good, and then be like, damn, Gothitelle's good.
Yeah. Goth's got a lot going for it. I mean, besides just trapping, it has a lot going for it.
For sure. So, first thing I wanted to talk about was how one should think about trapping when they are in like a draft, like during the draft. What sort of things you want to have on a team, or what sort of things you have on a team already that you think, okay, well maybe I invest into trapping at this point. So obviously you didn't have much of a team at the time you took Gothitelle on account of it being round 1. In another league I took it later on, I think round 3, or it might even have been like round 10 or 11 when no one else had taken it, I forget. But the sort of things that you like to do with trapping are either being able to insulate Pokemon that tend to have very good defensive matchups, but then very significant weaknesses. Often that's 4x weaknesses. And that also can be to take advantage of setup mons like Azumarill, or it can be for Perish Song, right? I think those are the main use cases.
Right, definitely. What I was kind of looking at to start, I mean, I had it flip between Goth and Guard early because I knew I wanted Guard just for the annoyingness. I can switch him in, he'd be bulky and kind of delay the game a little bit if Perish Trap is the way I went. But Goth, I had a feeling it could go kind of early this time around. It's a good Trick Room setter, got a lot of good support, comes with Fake Out. Overall, solid mon. Screamtail kind of fell into my lap kind of thing, and that's kind of where we circled everything together, because my initial plan, I was always looking Perish Trap. I was just gonna do like the late Mischievous pick and go Perish Song with Mischievous and maybe pick something else up along the way, but Screamtail's bulky, way bulkier than Mischievous, so you can't pass something like that up. And
I think it's the bulkiest mon on the format, right?
Oh yeah,
with boost strategy
and teras, and it's got a pretty good move pool. People are saying it hits like wet paper, but I mean, I think there's some sets you can put together to surprise some people.
It does enough damage. As OMG It's Daddy was sure to show me with his Boom Burst and only Boom Burst, Terra Normal Screamtail in our Screamtail bit.
Right. It definitely, and that's one thing I noticed. I'm like Boom Burst. I mean, with Terra, if Terra wasn't a thing, I wouldn't be
big on it.
Big on it, but it definitely has its little thing it can do.
For sure. I mean, Perish Song and Boom Burst are both singing. Right? Both singing. I'm surprised Wigglytuff doesn't get Boom Burst.
Yeah. Both sing mons. I mean, if you're looking at just my team, I've got 7, I think, that can put something to sleep.
Oh.
Whether they can do it well,
yeah.
I mean,
I can believe it.
Story,
I mean, sleep is not a bad way to control positioning with trapping, right? Because if their Pokemon is asleep, then they have a dead slot at least for a turn, and if you have a trapping mon in, then they can't develop that slot unless they have Sleep Talk, which is pretty strong. Like, it's a pretty strong option to have. So yeah, definitely a good sleep option is a good thing. I had like a Yawn Skeledirge on my Goth team, which was pretty impactful. I think I had Clodsire that may have also run Yawn. I forget if Clodsire does run Yawn. I might be going crazy. But Dugtrio and going back to the previous thing, Wobbuffet and Trapinch aren't in the format, but Dugtrio and the Magni line are. I don't think you're tending to use the Magnet line to like maintain sleep, simply because they're such offensively potent Pokemon. But you can use Doug. Like Doug can take a lot of advantage out of Protect and a Focus Sash with the support option that like a Pressure stuff. Though losing Beat Up was obviously pretty bad for Doug. I think Goth is really good at making your opponent commit to bad matchups. I remember there was a game where I ran Trick Scarf Gothitelle, and I tricked them, and then they were stuck with their Scarf Pokemon in on a setup move, and that Pokemon was functionally dead as a result. And
I mean,
strong.
They just had so much utility.
For sure. It stops your opponent from being able to make key decisions, which is very good. Or it forces them to make other concessions, which we'll talk about later on. But yeah, I think the main thing you want to do is to have Pokemon that force switches, right? Parasong forces switches, set up mons that have like a particular flaws. I like both Azumarill and Dragonite here because there's a lot of anti-priority in the current format, and you can stop them from having anti-priority in the current format by my brain is just by clicking priority, by stopping them from switching, because if they can't switch in their Farigiraf off, you're hitting priority moves, and that is strong. That was the major boon that I found with Goth, is that you could ignore a lot of the anti-priority in the format. But yeah, being able to set up and ignore your opponent's Pokemon because they can't switch in a mon that threatens you is good.
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing I'm looking at as I'm looking through teams and everything else, and if you're a team that isn't set up or didn't draft to stop get trapped, probably going to dedicate something to be a ghost type.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the slideshow, which is the it's the fourth slide, or fifth, I suppose. This is the second. But yeah, so when you are drafting, it may even be worth, as someone with or without trapping, to pick up a ghost type just kind of arbitrarily because they can't be trapped, and that will give you the like a decent ghost type will give you that opportunity that you wouldn't have otherwise to avoid trapping. And I do think that is a consideration that I've been taking in this generation more so than last generation, of intentionally trying to pick up a usable ghost type for the purpose of ignoring opposing trapping.
And I've made that mistake draft-wise a few seasons ago versus Steve. He got me stuck in Parish Trap, and like last match of the season, and I couldn't do anything. He was just waiting to play me. He knew I didn't have one, and that was previous format, so I couldn't really do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean you could still run Shed Shell.
Yeah, I mean,
when we get to that,
I always forget Shed Shell's a thing, to be honest.
I called it Shed Tail when I was first, I think, when we were talking. But yes, so into the arena. How does one actually build to consider? How does one build to abuse a trapper? My brain is just completely fried. I put Dugtrio here as the example mon with Gotham as the previous one. So Doug has two things that it does really well, which is it can get speed control with Bulldoze, or it can kill itself with Final Gambit, which can often be a really relevant sort of position to be in, because it does have okay HP. We've seen Annihilate use Final Gambit very effectively, and Staraptor to some degree as well, but Dugtrio is definitely a mon that can do it, and it did go in both drafts. But being able to Earthquake or Bulldoze next to a Discharge mon is good. And it does also, I believe, have access to Screech, which I think is the one that drops... Is that Fizdef or Spadef? My brain has just completely forgotten everything I knew about Pokemon.
Yeah, you're good. It's definitely physical. It's definitely physical. That's huge, especially with a mon like that.
Yeah. And that, like, that's just putting aside the fact that it has okay damage output. I mean, obviously it can click support moves like it can Rock Slide very reliably, and with its good speed, that will stop things. So how does one best abuse it? So the first thing that came to mind for me wasn't actually the Rotom, though that Rotom set is reasonable. Was actually the Flutter Mane with the Dazzling Gleam. If you're pairing getting Rock Slide, potential flinches with Dazzling Gleam, often just the ability to break an opposing sash with a Tera Fairy Specs Flutter Mane will be enough to get that KO there. And you can use that in a dominantly offensive way. And if you're not concerned about sashes, you can also slap a Helping Hand onto Dugtrio. It's got Memento to help assist with trying to set stuff up. I think it's also got like a bunch of moves that you can click to set off your own weakness policies. It's got a lot of really annoying sort of stuff. Also accuracy dropping, which exists.
Right, yeah. It's there. It's hard to rely on, but it's there.
Well, it's easy to rely on when you're trapping your opponent in, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I mean,
part
of me, if I'm thinking anything accuracy drop, it's just like if I start doing it, am I going to actually get lucky in it pay off, or is my opponent going to get lucky and it pay off for him?
Well, that is the question. It's an out into really bad matchups, right? And one of the great things about Dugtrio,
absolutely,
because of Arena Trap, is that it has the ability to give you, to like make outs that your opponent has very strong counterplay into, such as switching, and remove that specific strong counterplay, which is why it's a mon that is good with Charm, with Screech, with Endure. Does it actually learn Screech? It does not look like it does in the current format, sorry. I lied, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But Scary Face, Growl, which is a spread move, like a spread attack drop. Yeah, and like I said, Charm. I mean, it's still got enough options that do something. No Endeavor though. If this mod had Endeavor, it would be, I think, very nuts.
Yeah, that's true. You might not. You'd probably even argue if Wugtrio got it, it'd actually have some usability.
Probably last format when we were playing in Series 1, and you didn't add a bunch of mons that are faster than it. But at this point, it's slow as hell.
It's true.
But yes, I think that like Wo-Chien had the suicide move, Final Gambit. I think that there are a lot of things that you can do to abuse trapping, even on frailer trappers. Obviously, people had used Trap Pinch in previous formats. I think someone drafted Diglett. Gothorita and Gothita have both also seen a lot of use. The ability to kind of force them to keep in support options, like for example, people might want to be able to cycle Fake Outs or cycle Intimidates, and stopping them from getting that cycle can be very impactful, especially if your Pokemon is able to remove, like your partner Pokemon is able to remove one of their slots, then your Focus Sash is going to go off, and then you can get a Protect off, or if you're playing against a Fake Out mon, then your Covert Cloak is able to trigger, and to stop you from getting that position, and you're able to get that Protect off. Then you're taking multiple turns where your opponent is in a disadvantaged position.
Right. And I mean, part of what I've looked into is building is it's a big mind game at this point.
For sure.
So are you going to try to bring Perish Trap? Are you going to try? I mean, I think.
Yeah, in the prep stage for sure.
I don't remember who made the mention, but they're like, I'm more afraid to be trapped in, not Perish Trap, but trapped in with Garganacl.
Yeah, that's exactly.
It's got a lot of things that can build up upon. And are you going to? You can also look at, okay, so if I'm facing somebody that Perish Trap itself is bad against, well, I can try to focus on knocking out the first two Pokemon and putting up Perish Song at the end of the game, and you're stuck in there no matter what.
Until you forget they had soundproof.
Oh yeah, that's I guarantee.
There was one thing. So Primarina has Perish Song, but also has the signature ability Liquid Voice that makes all its sound moves water type, which includes Perish Song. So if you click Perish Song next to a water immunity, then it boosts them. But if their Pokemon has a water immunity, they don't get perished, and you lose.
That's just those weird little text you just.
I saw that happen once, and that was heartbreaking.
I mean, building, it makes it hard. It makes it hard on the person who's building. I feel like, even though
it puts a lot of pressure on them in the builder, and it puts a lot of pressure for them. Like I think one of the biggest impacts is it really changes how a person leads. If you have a compelling lead option that is distinct to your Shadow Tag or Arena Trap or Magnet Pull lead, then that can be very difficult for them to try and navigate. And that is like, it's like, okay, I can lead this one, but then the Pokemon that needs to counter the other Pokemon I'm scared of is getting dugged, or is getting Gothitelled. Then it's like, okay, do I want to risk that? Or do I try to lead a more conservative one, but then I am on the back foot if they lead the thing that I'm most scared about? It's a real difficult proposition, I think, and that is what can make it very strong.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just both sides of the team building, I feel like, are going to be very difficult. And I'm thinking both leagues, I believe, have same pair strap setup. We've Goth and Screamtail.
Yes.
There's another one in special, but
there's a Dug and Azumarill, and I believe in it.
Yes. That's the other one, the Flamigos.
Yep.
Looking at that earlier, and I mean, also have Flutter Mane there, who has Parasong too. But I mean, if you're looking at both our teams, I would say Diecrit's team here did a lot better drafting overall.
Well, they have a Palafin.
At the same time,
they've got Palafin, Screamtail, and Gothitelle, and that's like half the WolfeyVGC team.
Right. It's just how are you going to set that up to put you in a position to win every single week? Because if you watched Wolfie's video after that, he mentioned how hard it is to actually navigate a Parastrap team.
It is. You have to be very good at the game. It's very high skill expression comp with it's got a very high skill floor, because it's really bad if you don't know how to play it, and it's very, very, very difficult to beat if you're playing against someone who's really good with it. It's got very high skill floor and a very high skill ceiling.
So naturally, after going like 2-5 every season, I'm gonna try to do this.
Oh yeah, clearly the problem was just that you're using teams that had too low of a skill ceiling, and you were just simply too skillful for them. That must have been it, right?
Clearly.
Don't worry, Garganacl is a no skill mod anyways.
Is that?
For sure. So yeah, you would like to have ideally both offensive and support ways to try and take advantage of the thing. If you can lead a Pokemon that is capable of trading 1-for-1 or 2-for-1 with the support from your trapping mon, then that is going to do a lot, because your opponent is not going to be able to choose what Pokemon you take from them. That's it. I think last time I used Dugtrio, I mostly kept it in the back, with the idea of, if I lose one of my Pokemon, then I'll be in the position where Dugtrio can make me then get 2 of theirs back, which is definitely not a bad position to try and aim towards. But Dug can also lead. I think better with Covert Cloak than not. I didn't know what Tera type to put on Dug, because you normally run Sash with Tera Ghost, I think, but with Covert Cloak, I'm not sure. I think the Tera you are unlikely to click unless you are maybe doing Tera Rock offensively. Or Tera Ground offensively, so I'm stuck with Ground. I have the Dugtrio, so I should probably learn how to use it.
The only thing that makes me nervous about like Dug and Magneton and anything else that's
not Goth,
some kind of trapping is, well, Goth has some bulk to it. That's kind of where I'm.
I mean, Magneton's got a lot of bulk with EVL,
Yeah.
Zone's pretty bulky as well. I think Zone is bulkier than Gothitelle.
Might be. I worry about the quad weakness to Earthquake, the ground moves, and it just doesn't seem as strong. But, I mean, its trapping is just Steel Trap, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get on to Spin Me Right Round. So, there are other forms of trapping, and here we feature a couple of them. So there is definitely the Magnet Pull, which is, I think, a very offensive version of trapping, as compared to Arena Trap and Shadow Tag, which can be predominantly supportive but also have great offensive potential. It's more about picking off a key mon to remove, and also is more likely to be broadcasted. But yes, so other trapping. And I've seen all of these moves. I haven't seen Wo-Chien use Mean Look. I was going to put Umbreon, but then I saw that Wo-Chien also learned it, and it probably will use it, because that seems like something Wo-Chien would do. But I've seen Alomomola use Whirlpool, and I've seen Klefki use Fairy Lock in VGC Draft. And getting trapping when you don't have a trapping ability can honestly be really impactful.
Absolutely, because it's not something your opponent usually preps for. It's not the first thought on their mind unless you have a dedicated Parasong user. Isn't okay? What's gonna trap me in here?
Yeah, I mean, like if they don't have that funny Terra Ghost or whatever, or if they if they lead two Pokemon, and you're able to maybe sleep one of them and get a Meat Look into that, or get a Leech Seed or whatever into it, get some form of damage over time. Garganacl was the one that you mentioned. Then being able to keep them in with those damage over time is really scary with a Mean Look or even a Fairy Lock, which is a little bit less consistent. But then, what else is there? what else has damage over time and trapping? Oh yeah, the Whirlpool and Fire Spin, the moves that do damage over time and trapping. And there are two separate synergy items. I think there's Grip Claw and
Jawlock.
Jawlock is the move. Sorry, no. There's items that boost the power of.
Oh, right.
Grip Claw and something Hook. No, it's not called Hook.
Can't remember.
I cannot for the life of me remember. But it does.
You don't see it hardly ever.
I saw it because Grip Claw. Sorry, Grip Claw and no, I saw it on Gigantamax Center Scorch, and that was when I was reminded it exists. I've also seen them in singles. They do a lot of damage. The other one, which does more damage, the Grip Claw means that you trap for 7 turns, which is generally not going to be relevant in VGC.
No, VGC, no. I actually did not know Grip Claw trap for
7 turns, right?
That seems absurd.
It is, it's a bit of damage. I'd say on the scale of some damage to a lot of damage. Binding Band. This one makes it do 1/8 damage per turn instead of... Sorry, 1/6 damage per turn. Which was really good with G-Max, Center Scorch, and Sandaconda, but only Center Scorch because Sandaconda was terrible. Because you trapped both slots, which meant that you actually did more damage than Gigantamax, Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise. But you'd had to not die, unlike them, who, when they fainted or switched out, it stayed. Which was a very significant concern on account of Center Scorch being Center Scorch and Sandaconda being Sandaconda. But yeah, Binding Band is it's got use cases. I looked at using it last season, but then I dropped them on that I was going to use it on, which was Gabite. Gabite was not. When I say dropped it, I didn't transact it. I just never used it because it was not good. But yeah, Binding Band is I think got use cases. 1/6 damage per turn is nothing to turn your nose up at.
Definitely not. And that's something I probably should have looked more into myself when back in team building, was looking for some of those bulkier mons that can utilize those Whirlpool, Fire Spins, stuff like that. That'll really
Look, I mean, Iron Bundle has seen Whirlpool usage in VGC. I think someone top 16 with a Whirlpool Iron Bundle, and it's just like, what the hell?
I've ran into it on the ladder a couple times, and it's not fun.
I mean, I think the main idea is that it can hit Pokemon that are already weak to water and KO them through Sash. Specifically thinking extra damage and Talonflame. Obviously, the problem is that Iron Bundle lacks a good water stab, so Whirlpool, Hydro Pump, and Surf, Kick W. I love KOing my partner Pokemon, Chi-Yu, are all options. But yeah, I think Wo-Chien is a really interesting mon to use manual trapping on, or to manually trap to support with. The other mon I considered putting was Toxapex with Block and Toxic, because that can win. But honestly, if your Toxapex needs to trap one of the mons to win, is probably not going to win anyways, and you probably shouldn't be bringing it, because you can generally just win out against like 2 or 3 mons by itself, because it's a really annoying mon to match up into.
Yeah. And, I mean, when I was looking through mons, I fell on Evastiff for a little bit, because I'm thinking Jawlock.
It's got Jawlock.
When my first
there are
read of
3
Jawlock,
Pokemon Jawlock, right?
Yeah, Dreadnought gets it.
Dreadnought, Roaring Moon, and Mobos.
Roaring Moon, that's right. And when I'm looking at Jawlock, and the first description says prevents switching out, and I'm thinking, okay, everything else specifically labels U-turn, Volt Switch, and then I'm like, this can't be true, this can't be true, so I had to go test in Showdown. Of course, it doesn't actually prevent being trapped in with...
It doesn't stop them from switching with switch moves, but it prevents them from switching out. And I think it does it with partner Pokemon as well. But you can switch out if you have a Shed Shell.
That's kind of what got me. I'm like, okay, there's no actual benefit to this move. Besides,
no, like the player can switch out. But yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense on a team that already has good trapping, I think.
Right. And I was a little disappointed.
I think the problem is Dreadnought is not a dark type, so Jawlock is bad on it. And Mabosstiff and Roaring Moon both are very frail on one of their defensive sides, so it sucks. Also, Mabosstiff has Stakeout, which is the opposite of what Jawlock does, because it wants your opponent to switch, because it punishes them for switching, but also it wants them to not switch because of Jawlock. I thought Guard Dog was just a terrible ability, right? What's its other one?
Guard Dog's the one that I think
Intimidate's good. Guard Dog is the one that gives you +1 attack when you get intimidated. Yeah. That's really crap. That's defiant but bad.
Yeah, that's true. It's there. It has its little niche, but you're not gonna pick.
Yeah, and it stops it from from your opponent from switching you out with a Roar, but it doesn't have any moves that abuse that. Which is to say, it doesn't have Trick Room, which is the only move that abuses being immune to Roar.
Right.
Or like in most cases. Yeah, Trick Room is the main thing you counter with Roar. Yeah, so manual trapping works. So anti-trapping. And here are 3 of the major candidates that came to mind. And I meant to put Follow Me on Mousehold, but I forgot. Corviknight, Shed Shell. The Steel type is probably going to run Shed Shell against a Magnezone. Will it against a Magneton? Maybe. And honestly, drafting a Magneton or a Magnezone and not bringing it that week, and then them losing their item functionally, is probably a benefit to you that you're willing to take.
Absolutely.
Skeleturge is Ghost type. Ghost types are immune to trapping, all of the trapping, every single one of the trappings, until next gen when they make, or maybe in one of the DLCs, when they make a mod that can trap Ghost types, and only Ghost types. Or maybe just everything, but I think only Ghost types.
No, it's coming.
What's right?
It's probably coming. I said, it's gonna come. It's gonna come probably sooner than later.
Look, it's either this game, or maybe they'll maybe in like the Gen 2 remakes that come out, they'll make a Pokemon that is like a Super Ho-Oh and like Super Lugia, and the Super Lugia traps flying types for arena trap, and the Super Ho-Oh traps ghost types for every trapping move.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. But yeah, Skeleturge is a mon that switches out of trapping very easily on account of being a ghost type. And Mousehold likes to Terra Ghost because it doesn't like Fake Out, but that also makes it immune to trapping, and since it's like a good sport mon, it's one of those Pokemon that we mentioned as like a high value trapping target, because it doesn't want to, it often will want to be able to come back in and get that second Follow Me off, get that extra turn of Friend Guard. And not letting it do that can be very impactful. That said, it can also kill your trapping Pokemon, so don't die.
Yeah. Population Bomb is sort of broken. But...
I think it's pretty balanced, but it's funny.
That's true.
It's balanced by the fact that it's not that good unless you run Technician, but then you lose Friend Guard, which is broken. Mousehold's a really funny Pokemon that is way better than it looks like it should be, because it has a lot of really good things going for it. But yes, did you have any other commentary? Like, have you, last season, run a Terra Ghost to avoid trapping?
I don't think we've really run into too many
I don't think Goth got drafted last season.
I don't think it did either. And overall, I've really only seen Steve use it in our draft league to memory.
In VBL, yeah. I mean, look, I've definitely used it outside of this. Pretty sure someone used one of the baby Goths in the previous season. I don't know. I think Gothitelle appreciates Tera.
Oh, definitely.
Dugtrio is way worse now than it used to be. Dugtrio used to be really good because it could beat up Defiant Pokemon and your opponent couldn't switch around that. But now it doesn't get beat up, so...
Oh, it's part of the strategy with it away.
Yeah. I could imagine people running like Scarf Annihilate with that's like 1 speed slower than Dugtrio so they can beat it up and click Rage Fist. Because people are doing that with Mousehold, which is not as fast as as Dugtrio.
Right.
So someone used Trapinch, and first impression, some Psychic type. But Trapinch was pretty bad before it got first impression. It's really slow and has 100 attack. But it's also very frail.
Yeah, that thing actually blows my mind that it can actually hit something.
Well, it's the same attack as Flygon. Can Flygon hit something? No. So, no, Trapinch can't hit something.
Oh, it's surprising, more so than anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite the first impression.
Right.
I don't know if anything is first impression in this format. Oh, Surfetch. I've clicked it. Wait, no, Surfetch isn't in this format. That's
Surfetch
it.
isn't.
I'm going insane. Does anything have first impression in the format? Oh, Haxorus, and Phalanx, and Lokix, and Lokix. I clicked it on Lokix. And Slitherwing, and Spidops, and the babies of most of those Pokemon. Tarantula.
A whole lot that's gonna threaten you. Haxorus is probably...
I mean, Slitherwing. New kid on the block.
Yeah. Did Slitherwing get drafted?
I think it went in one of the pools, in our pool. But I'm not sure. But yes, so how much credence should you give? Like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend slapping Shed Shell on a Mon for Gothitelle. But then again, if you're looking at Perish Trap, that might be it. Whereas I would definitely consider slapping Shed Shell on a Steel type, especially if it is a Corviknight or... like, they're not in the format, but Celestealer and Skarmory. I don't think Skarmory's in the format. I have no idea. I think I probably would have drafted it at some point, because it's got good typing. You know, if you have something that's weak to Electric, and trapped by it, or... I was going to say weak to Steel, but Steel types that cannot be weak to Steel. Then I would consider running Shed Shell for that. If I have a 4x weak, ground weak Pokemon, I would consider running Air Balloon or Shed Shell for Dugtrio. But I would be very confused as to how to decide what Pokemon to run Shed Shell on in a Perish Trap matchup. I think Terra Ghost is easier. Because Terra Ghost is something you're incentivized to run against Gothitelle for Fake Out anyways.
Yeah, it serves a dual purpose. It's not a waste of a Terra at all. And I mean, Ghost is a generally decent type.
I mean, Ghost is a terrible type, but it's a good offensive type, but it's a terrible defensive type because it's weak to types that are very good. But the immunities are solid as well. But Normal is generally not a type you care about running immunities to. Then again, if you're playing a Mousehold, you do, because Mousehold is broken. But that's the same way that you run Terra Normal against Annihilate.
Extreme Speed Dragonite, I kind of want.
I mean, I remember I played Dragonite, and I just ran Chilan Berry. And then they didn't bring E-Speed, and my Jolteon that was Terra Fairy was immune to Dragonite's attacks, both the Dragon Claw and the Thunder Punch.
Huh.
Broken.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it is what it is. I think trapping has got a lot of potential, and it's something that really any team can utilize some of. And it's really worth when you're looking at a lower, when I say lower, I don't mean like a Bagmon, but like when you're looking at your like 10 points or below Mon, considering if there's a tanky Mon with trapping that might be able to remove something that's particularly pesky for you. A Mon like an Alomomola or a Toxapex that comes with that wide guard, but also with that trapping aspect.
Right.
Any final thoughts from yourself?
Overall, I just think it's gonna take a lot of team building on both ends, like you said earlier, and just making sure that mean, what you bring has some balance to it.
Especially Doug and Goth. Maybe a bit more so than Klefki and Magneton.
I mean, we talked a little bit before, and we started and bringing up making sure your type chart looks a little better than if you look at mine, what it looks like.
Oh yes, your type chart where you lose to the types that Goth is already weak to. That's a bold decision.
We'll see if it pays off.
We'll see. I mean, look, I think you've got good app parts. I think that you just need to get a better dark resist than Breloom.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Because I remember you saying that you once get about Roaring Moon, and I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure Crunch can get a Breloom.
Yeah, probably. But definitely gonna be interesting season. We got a lot of teams that can throw this out there, so we're gonna definitely get an answer on whether trapping is good or just it's a little
Dicrit's the team, right? Not the coach?
Dicrit's the team, yes, I apologize. Dicrit is the team.
Who's the coach? I'm like just absolutely blanking because I did a Ski Dude. Yeah, Ski Dude. So we'll definitely see how Ski Dude and yourself do with Goth. We'll see how myself and LS do with Doug. Someone has Diglett.
Yes.
No, I'm saying that not like as a question. I know that someone has Diglett. I just I don't remember who.
Milwaukee Beware.
Dig the Milwaukee Bewares. Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Bewares is Fikern, FX run, like foreign with an X instead of an O. So I assume there's some interplay there. And Magwise. I think there's a team named Mag. You obviously got Magneton as well. Oh yeah, why? Why did you do that? And Sly has the other Magneton.
So I enjoyed Magnezone last season, and I can just throw him out as a Pokemon.
So you're saying that no one did trapping except Steve, but now you have a Magnezone last season. Did opponents run Terra Ghost or Shed Shell to deal with it, or Terra Ground, I suppose?
I don't think too many Steel types are going to be worried about it.
Okay.
I
hopefully call this.
I know. I would think, like, if I'm playing next week, if I'm looking at Orthworm, I'm not thinking bringing if I'm on the reverse side of it, I'm not thinking Magneton's coming. But
really?
At the same time, it could surprise you and could lock you in.
Magneton is pretty good in Orthworm, right? Because Orthworm has pretty mediocre special defense. Yeah, you can threaten it with a KO.
Yeah. Definitely. But I don't know. I never
definitely, like, it struggles to run Shed Tail against you, because even if you're not invested and they have Splef, they're risking, like, they're needing to consume a Citrus Berry. And then if you're invested, especially if you've got like a nature on it, then even the Citrus Berry isn't necessarily reliable. And then that is like, well, and then if you have a partner Pokemon that clicks a spread move, it's just done. I'd say Orthworm is a bit suspect against Magneton for sure. That said, I don't know if it is maybe already sus because it just gets faked out by Goth.
Yeah, that's true too. But
does Shed Tail Baton pass? Because then that would pass trapping as well. Sorry, not trapping. It passes Perish.
I don't think so.
I just have never seen it happen, but I'm also stupid, so. Shed Tail creates a substitute. It's just a substitute. Okay. Oh, Shed Tail fails if you already have a sub up, which is funny. I didn't know that.
It's a weird tech that hopefully we don't ever see.
Yeah, you should just have your opponent give you a substitute somehow. And then you're completely screwed. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. This has been an interesting video looking at, I'd say, a currently being explored aspect of Draft League, and BOhm has been my lovely co-host. Now's when you say goodbye or thank you or whatever.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
I was